We are going to get started in just a minute. My name is Virginia Weiskopf of Weiskopf Consulting, all things technical and social. And this is one of our Friday trainings. Today is Understanding Website Analytics. In August, we're testing a new platform. It's the Webinar Jam platform as opposed to the Zoom platform, which we did most of our other trainings on. It's always good to test something new. So if we have any hiccups, I apologize. I believe we'll be just fine. Love your feedback in the chat. David, will you say good morning?
Good
This is
morning,
David Marks, our
everyone.
digital strategist. He is going to be monitoring the chat, and will pipe in from time to time if I misspeak. Hopefully I won't. And he'll stop me if there's questions he thinks we need to answer during the slide presentation, or he'll save them to the end if he hasn't answered them in the chat. And I'm looking forward to going. So let's get started on understanding website analytics. So why are website analytics important? Why do we need to know? My website is up, people are going to it, people send me forms once in a while. Why does that need to be effective? It needs to be understood and effective more and more now that we're in a lockdown. It's brought to the forefront how important your company's visibility is, and that the visibility is correct, and then you can look to see what you have done or haven't done. We want to look at the important metrics that we're doing. We want to improve what happens on our website so users can use it with ease. Uh-oh. I hit the wrong button. There we go. So these are the things with a new platform that you have to get used to, and I apologize for that. So with website analytics, and we're talking basically Google Analytics though, but it does roll over into other types of analytics. You can look at the same things on different platforms, but for today's purpose, we're talking about our website. We can track all of these different things. There's so much you can track that you can get overwhelmed. So you need to decide where to start, what to do, and which ones are important to you as you move through your process. What you can't track, and this is very important, you don't get to know who's come to your website, and all of the aggregate data is anonymous. Now, Google knows anonymous data. They know the IP address or where to push it out, but you don't get to know any of those things. That's what those personal privacy issues are. So when we look at analytics, we look at dimensions and metrics. Dimensions are categorical variables, and metrics are quantitative variables, and we're going to discuss that as we move forward. Dimensions and metrics, you need to remember that. So when we look at dimensions, dimensions are a descriptive attribute or characteristic of the data. So we're talking about the source, where the visitor came from, the medium, the channel the visitor came from, which browser they're using, their geolocation, where they landed on your web page, where they exited your web page, and what device they're using. Phone, desktop, laptop, iPad. So then the metrics that go into each of those dimensions are a session, a user, returning user versus a new user, how many page views, what your conversions are, which are calls to action, or CTAs for short, when people bounce off a page and leave it, and how long they stay. So looks like my picture's in the way of my text. Metrics are expressed in numbers on the report, and they're quantitative measurements of data. So you can show from time to time, as you're looking over time, at how each of these things is changing for the better, or sadly enough for the worse, to make sure you know what to do with your website. So in the slide presentation, what I put is 2 pages of terms, because there's a lot of different terms. I'm not going to go over all of them. This is a URL right down here at the bottom that has actually pages and pages of terms. I took out the ones that I thought were important to you. Let's look at the next one. That will be your starting point. What are the things I need to know to start that are important to me as I go through all of these things? I want to know, we're going to just step back, what my bounce rate is, what my conversion is, how many impressions I'm making on an advertisement, what my keywords are, what's a new visitor versus an old visitor, what my organic reach is versus my paid per click or my direct search. How many pages do I as a visitor view? And what's the difference between a new unique visitor and just a visitor? Then you get into click-through rate, click-through, direct referrals, when they enter, which page they enter on, which page they exit on, what is a landing page, and where link referrals come to. These are all important pieces that you need to know and understand as you're digesting your analytics. So in a report, dimensions are rows and metrics are column. So you see your dimensions right across the top. Sessions, new users, bounce rate, page sessions, average sessions, marketing blog subscription. You get to, these are conversions you have made if you've set a goal. It shows you those. And you can set this up to show you what you want, your main things. And then in the rows, under the columns, are what percentage, and it gives you numbers. So remember, dimensions are across the top. They're column headers. And then in the rows are your metrics. So when we look at metrics, we look at time frames. You can look at it hourly, you can look at it daily, you can look at it weekly, you can look at it monthly. You can look at however you want to. And sometimes a day, a week, or a month do not make a trend. But if you're running an ad for a short period of time, then that hourly piece or that daily piece or that weekly piece does make a difference. You need to look overall at your analytics, a 1 to 3 month or a quarter, to see what changes quarter to quarter, not minute to minute. So you have to have a long-term view, not a short-term view, unless you're analyzing something that is specific to an ad you've done or a promotion you've done or an email you've sent out. So now we need to understand what we're looking at on our overall traffic view, where it's coming from and what the behaviors are. So you get these are the 5 pieces you get. You get organic search, you get direct, paid search, social, and referral. Organic search would be anything that comes to your page via the keywords you've put up, the description you've put up, that Google finds it and drops it into there. A direct is when anyone types in your URL and gets you there. Direct would also count if you are sending out an email and you have a direct link that pushes them in there. Paid search is that paid per click piece that you're pushing out to get people to move to your site. Social is anything from the social platforms. And a referral link is anything that comes from another website that's referring them back to you. So it's important to know where your traffic is coming from, where you want it to come from, where you're paying for it to come from, and how it's affecting what's going on. So if we dive deeper into that traffic, we can look specifically at what we get. So after overview, which we just saw at the top, you can go to source or medium, and then it's going to list all the places that your website is getting referral from. So you will know if it's coming from your, say, Google pay per click, how much is coming from a direct, how much is coming from Google or Facebook. Or like here, these are all generic graphics that we pulled from the web, healthconnectionhub.org. They're getting a referral that's coming in. So, but don't think, and I want to say referral links are important, because if a referral link sends you someone that's much more interested or has a reason to come or is referred for a reason, those 3 people who come may come down, spend more time, look at more, and actually contact you, as opposed to the organic people who are being pushed in when they're looking for something. So understanding how each of these people come to your site and what they're doing there is important to understanding your traffic. So you get a lot of visitor information. What kind of visitor? If the world knows everything about you. So Google can tell you the age group and the demographic you're getting, whether they're male or female, so you know who your audience is. And is it the audience you're looking for? If you have a demographic you're looking for, are you hitting that mark? There's even more visitor information. So this is pushing it a little further. There's infinity audiences and there's in-market segment audiences. So infinity audiences are people that you reach for lifestyles, passion, habits when you create one of those audiences that's based on subjects. They like to shop. They buy this. They're sports people. That's what an infinity audience is. In-market audiences is much more about their activities of browsing. And this is where you've all had this happen. You've been out and you've been shopping on Amazon or Wayfair or Overstocks. Guilty as charged. Just we'll go there. And then the next thing you know, when you're looking at another website or you're looking at Google searching for something, the exact same thing that you looked at is popping up in your feed. That's an in-audience market that's pulling it back in because I've done something and made an action. It's now feeding out back to me. Even more visitor information. This goes down to geolocation. And you can target these locations when you're doing your pay-per-click ads and stuff like that. But if you want to know specifically where your people are coming from, what their website, who's visiting your website, if it's a local one or global, these things have an effect on you. Are you not targeting right? Why are people from Europe looking at your site? I mean, if you're an international site and they're selling, that's great. But if you're a local business and you want local people to look at, that's where you want to get your numbers. So visitor information is here, and you can look at that and make adjustments. More visitor information. So now, not only do you know what their geo is, you can also know if they've come in on a phone and what type of phone they're coming in on. So it's taking you down to seeing this. So this might tell you, if you're looking at this, that one of the phones constantly has a high bounce rate, or all the phones have a high bounce rate on a specific page. So you need to go look at that page and make sure it's mobile friendly. If you're getting a large percentage of your hits from mobile, you need to know when they hit it on mobile that they can stay, that they spend time, and they find what they're looking for. They don't just bounce right off of your site. So now we're looking at, as we're moving down through behaviors, what pages they landed on. You will know exactly who landed on what page and why. So for me, one of the things that will happen today when you guys all leave this webinar is that you will be sent to my page on my website that shows the replays of recent webinars, because every webinar I do, I render it and put it up there for people to rewatch. If they miss something, if they want to catch up on it, it's on my YouTube channel. It comes into that page. So I know that a higher rate of people every Friday are going to land on that page because I'm pushing them to that page after the event. The question is, how long do they stay there? Do they go to the YouTube channel? What happens? So it's interesting to know which pages, if you're promoting a page, if you have a specific page that is a landing page, and you've been promoting it all month, maybe with a Facebook ad, maybe with a pay-per-click ad, maybe with an email, you can come back in and look here to see that people went to that page, if they spent time, if they bounced, how long they spent. So information is here for you to understand that the behavior of your visitors. Site speed is a really important thing right now. You have to make sure everything is optimized for the web. Your pictures are optimized, your forms are optimized, so that how long it takes to load that page, people don't leave, because that affects the bounce rate also. If you've put something on that page that's really cool, that takes time to do something, I have a client that wants to pull in their calendar. It's very important for them to pull their calendar into one page, not just the calendar page, but an upcoming events page. But what happens is it takes time for the site to go out and query that and come back in. So the site speed on that page is really low. And there's no way I can improve it because it just takes time. All the rest of the site is fine. So, but you need to look at your site to make sure it's loading quick enough that people don't decide to leave before it loads. So increasing your site, there's a few things to look at. If you go to the developers.google.com speed test page sites insights, you can drop your URL into that page and hit start, and it will go out and tell you which pages are running well and which ones aren't, and give you a score and tell you where you need to make improvements. You need to optimize your images for web. Yes, you want them to be clear and concise, but you don't want that big image up there. It takes forever to load. Are there too many images? Can it be trimmed down? Are there JavaScripts loading? And that would be the script that went out to pull that information, that are just slow, and you need to look at that. Are there errors in the log file? Sometimes you can look there for problems. Is SSL being used correctly? So all of these things, but when you run it through Google, it will give you a list of things that it sees that you need to update. So let's talk about evolution versus revolution. Because now you're thinking, oh my God, I have all these things to do. No, you don't. You have to take them one step at a time. You need to first look at your data and choose which dimensions you want and what the metrics are on them. Then that's going to guide you to what decisions you're going to make for improvements. And make a list, do them one at a time, know what it's doing, and see what happens. Because as a programmer, if you change 2 or 3 things at once, you don't know what solved the problem. You need to do one thing, get some data on it. Do another thing and get some data on it. So test, test, test. You can go out and do all the changes and then look to see where you are and make more, but that's a lot. You want to test, you want to make one decision at a time, and you want to see that it's making a difference on your site. So let's look at 5 ways we can effectively use web analytics. We can set goals. We can check for problems on pages. We can consider our target audience. We can leverage our top traffic sources. And you absolutely have to curb your addiction. You can go so far down the rabbit hole on data, it's going to drive you crazy. It's just like when you research something and you have too many answers and too much information that you can't make a decision. Step back, look at the basics, and take one thing at a time as you're doing this. Here we go again. Establish that baseline. Let the data guide change your take. Let me repeat that. Let the data see, I can't say this one. Let the data guide your changes. So if you make a change and it does something good, that's great. If you make a change, it goes bad, put it back. We want to look at that. And we really want to look at trends over a 1 to 3 month period, unless it's a specific thing like we're doing an ad or something. We need to see, because there are some external forces that have nothing to do with what you've done that will make an impact on your website. I can say pretty much for certain that in March of this year, all website traffic went up. Why? Because we were all locked down. We had to do everything via the web. So you need to keep that in, know that when you're looking at your traffic and what's happening. And increasing goals means increasing email marketing and increasing advertising or increasing Facebook likes. You need to push people to your platform. We're going back to that looking at your data. Pull up your data. In your Google dashboard, you can change what's in there so you can put the data that you want to see and configure it so that you don't have to look around. Also, if you have a WordPress site, you can install something called Monster Insights that will pull data in so you don't even have to leave the back end of your website to look at it. But start with 30 days, see what you have, check it at 60, check it at 90, and then start making your changes. And then test each change for a period of time. So don't make assumptions. You might want to have a log that you've put it down. I changed this. This is what happened. So that you know the change was either good or bad. And sometimes maybe it won't make a difference. So that was quick. It was fast. It was a lot of information. David, did we have any questions?
So yes, I've been answering them. Janelle asked though, what was the WordPress app that you mentioned just now?
Monster Insights. It's a WordPress plugin that you can put in your WordPress website, and it will bring in the analytics. It also helps you, you should have Yoast SEO in there, so you have your SEO and your keywords in, and each page is scored. But Monster Insights then takes the information from your Google Analytics. Instead of going into the Google Analytics console, you can just be right in the back end of your website and see those things right there.
So far, I've been answering all the rest of them, but I'll maybe give them a second to populate any questions they may have.
Okay. David, do you have any questions or things that I missed in my going through the information? Or were you too busy answering questions to pay attention?
I was pretty occupied, to be honest. So, in answer to your question, not that I know of, but I was pretty busy, so I don't have an answer. Okay, and then Jessica asked, how do you gauge call to action success? What is being measured?
Depends what your call to action is. And David, you could probably hop in on this one too. If you set a goal, because we didn't go too far down the rabbit hole today, you can set specific goals and conversion goals in your Google account. And if you're pushing something to that, it's going to tell you whether that call to action is being responded to.
Right. So essentially you determine what that goal is. For example, landing on a thank you page, that would be an example of a goal. And then once a person visits, clicks through to a thank you page, then that counts as one goal. You can also assign it a monetary value if it means a certain amount to your business. So you give it more weight.
And those are set. When David and I were going over this webinar, I had put those to go 4 or 5 more slides down. He said, yeah, you need to stop now. That needs to be a whole nother webinar on setting up the goals. So if you,
it seems like a lot.
So if you set up a goal, so like, let's say I'm pushing you all to my, it's not a thank you page, it's in a way it is. It just says, thank you for attending, our webinar. Here are the latest webinars below. There are more on my YouTube channel. So I could gauge it as not just you going there, because I am sending you there, but how long you stay, if you look at the other videos, if you click on the videos, or if you click to YouTube. All of those would be calls to action that I could measure in the back end of Google.
Okay, and then Nina asks, how can you explain the leverage top traffic sites in the last screen?
Okay, I'm going to go back. I don't think it was this screen.
Don't think so either.
So
Nina, can you explain a little bit more, please?
How can you explain the leverage top traffic sites? So I'm going to guess while Nina tries to kick us, give us some more information. You mean if I see that my top referring sites are my pay-per-click, or they're coming direct from my emails, or if they're coming from my Facebook, to leverage those, if people are coming on direct link from your email, you know that your email marketing is working. If you have been pushing for the one with 5 effective ways to leverage, okay. Here, this one, I'm going with this one. So we're going to set our goals. So what are our goals? And to start with, my goal is going to be checking my page for problems. That's my first goal, right? So that's what I need to go. Then my other goal may be that I'm doing an email, I'm sending people to a page, and I want them to do a click to action. on that page. So that my goal would be that click. And like David had said just a few minutes ago, when I set that goal up in the back, I would add a dollar amount to it because I'm now getting people to engage with me. And is it the audience that I'm looking for? Because I can go back and look at that audience. So leveraging your top traffic sources is really looking at where they're coming from and can I improve upon that, or what can I do to get them to make that call to action from that transfer from the traffic source to my site.
Okay, so far no other questions.
So you should know that this will be available by Monday, the whole video. You're going to be pushed to our thank you page where all the other videos are. If you want to check out our other items that we have coming up for the rest of the month, you can go to the education page and they're listed there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions.
Thank you so much for coming today. I look forward to seeing you in the next couple weeks, where I think next week is understanding Facebook analytics. Is that correct, David?
That is correct. Yep.
Yes, and David will be giving that one, and I will be answering the questions on the back end. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.